Right, hello guys, and welcome to today's video. In today's video, we are going to be ranking every single Call of Duty game from worst to best here in 2024. I've got down below all the Call of Duty games I have actually played or had a chance to play, or have at least had some sustainable amount of time playing to actually be able to rank. As you can see, there's quite a few Call of Duty games. Some of these are also spin-offs, some of these are just zombies that I never played, but you guys can rank these ones in your ranking if you want to, but that's up to you. But I'm going to leave that for you guys as well. In the comments down below, put in worst to best order your favorite Call of Duty games here in 2024. What do you think is the worst Call of Duty game that you've ever played? What is the best Call of Duty game you ever played? And kind of give me a ranking. Give me a reason why as well. Why the bottom Call of Duty you have is the worst, and why the one you have at the top is the absolute greatest and undisputed in your mind when it comes to Call of Duty games. But for me, I'm going to do this based off of all my personal opinion of what I think is the best Call of Duty games here in 2024. And this will, of course, include the most recent Modern Warfare 3. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the first one it's got up here, which is Modern Warfare 2. Original Modern Warfare 2, of course, we're talking here. And this game was a pioneer. I think this was the biggest... I'd say the most, how would I put it? What's the best way to say it? This was the Call of Duty that I think pioneered, like, YouTube, trick shots, gameplays, just online multiplayer. I know COD 4 obviously did come before that and did kind of also pioneer a little bit. I think Modern Warfare 2 was the most mainstream when it came to it. I briefly played this, but I'd say enough to the point that I could say I have an opinion on it. I've also played it in the modern era, like now here in 2024 and 2023, obviously reverse compatibility. It doesn't live up to the same, standard as what it did back in the day. But for this game, it's hard for me to put this anywhere in, like, fantastic, greatest of all time for me, just because I didn't play it overly loads, and I don't think I had the experience that everyone else did. I'm talking, like, I went to a friend's house and played this. I never played this online back in its heyday. I just played with intervention snipers back in, private lobbies, essentially, like just in your house, in your mate's house, which is also a cool experience, right? So I think that puts that up there for me. I can't talk about online multiplayer experience too much, just because the only experience I really had with online multiplayer was this year and last year. And obviously this game is hacked, broken, you name it. It's not great here in 2023 and 2024, but I will put it in the great category, okay? I'm not going to put it in fantastic or greatest of all time, just based off of my personal experience. Like I said, this is my personal experience. I don't think overall everyone's going to say that this is just great. I think a lot of you are going to put this in greatest of all time or fantastic when it comes to your rankings. But that's why I said this is my opinion, my rankings. You guys can agree and disagree, and you guys can, flame me in the comments if you really want to. But next up, we're moving on to a personal favorite of mine, and Call of Duty Black Ops, the original Call of Duty Black Ops 1. This was my first playthrough of a Call of Duty game. I played the campaign, zombies, online multiplayer, so this wasn't just me playing in private lobbies, at a friend's house, etc. This was my first proper experience, an online Call of Duty game multiplayer experience, and what a game this was. The maps, the guns, throwing cross-map tomahawks, being a noob, all right? I'm just going to put this out there. Being bad at Call of Duty games is some of the best fun you'll ever have. I know a lot of people, here in 2024, we discuss, like, people getting into easy lobbies against bad players, etc. Even I do myself, with turning Xbox crossplay off and that in MW3. But being a bad player is so fun because you don't know you're a bad player, right? And you just do the most fun things, like sniping, hitting a quad feed, a tomahawk crossmap. And I know those things that people will be like, oh, that's only good players. You could do that, though, in this game. You could be a bad player and do the coolest moments. Like, throwing a crossmap on Summit for the first time was one of the most unreal things to me. And it'd still probably be unreal to me to this day. But this game was unbelievable. I'm going to throw this in greatest of all time. Now, I'm going to throw more probably in here. I'm not going to just leave this as the one. In fact, am I going to do that? Am I going to do that? Am I going to put this in greatest of all time or just fantastic? I feel like this maybe should be left for the absolute, like, this, it's called greatest of all time, right? That means, personally, this should be my best call, the favorite Call of Duty of all time. So you know what? I am going to save that for just the Call of Duty that I think is the absolute undisputed go. I think some of you might be able to guess, and you guys can leave your comments down below before you skip to that part or see that part. Let me know what you think. Well, what do you think is my favorite and all-time Call of Duty game? I'm going to leave it in fantastic for now, but Black Ops 1, absolute piece of resistance, unbelievable. A great entry into Call of Duty. If you ever started Call of Duty in Black Ops 1, what a great Call of Duty for you to start in, honestly. I think it was fantastic for anyone who was new to Call of Duty. Next up, the original Modern Warfare 3. Not this year's Modern Warfare 3. We're talking, I believe, 2011 this is Modern Warfare 3. Quite a long time ago now. This game is actually great. And you know what? I'm going to throw this out here. If you don't get into hack lobbies, you can actually get into proper multiplayer lobbies. This game is still actually really good to play here in 2024. It holds up really, really well. Even playing through an Xbox Series X, yes, you get input delay and stuff through the reverse compatibility and that. But this game, like, I'd say this is the best Call of Duty to go back and play if you want to go back and play an old Call of Duty game. Even Black Ops 1 is quite good as well. But this game back in the day was great. The infected stuff, you know, Dome, ACRs, MP7s, prestiging, trying to get a Moab. I never got a Moab in this game, but infected was unreal. It was fun. This game was unbelievable. I think this game was quite good. And I do believe this game was kind of hated a little bit back in its actual prime, which I was quite, I'm quite shocked at. I believe a lot of it was down to like connections and stuff. This game did have a connection issue. For some reason, the devs used to give, I believe it was a thing where they used to give hosts to the player with the worst connection in the lobby to make it balance out or something. It was such an odd way of doing connections in that game. I think they ended up changing it, but it was kind of a little bit too late in that game. But yeah, Modern Warfare 3, I can't say I played the campaign too much, and of course Spec Ops as well. I played a little bit. Oh, what else was that? They had that other mode. I can't remember what it's called. Not called Spec Ops, it was the other thing. It was that mode where you go against like juggernauts and stuff. I cannot remember for the life of me what it's called. That was actually really fun. You know what? I'm going to put this in great. Modern Warfare 3 absolutely deserves to be in great. I don't think it's quite fantastic, because I don't think it's on the same level as Black Ops 1, but Modern Warfare 3 definitely goes in the fantastic category. But next up, the Piece of Resistance. I think already a lot of you probably put in the comments that you think this was my favourite Call of Duty of all time, and you would be absolutely correct. We're just going to throw it straight up there and talk about it, but camos, maps, kill streaks, just this period of time on YouTube as well, like watch as a little kid watching other content creators, people like Wildcat Vanos, Ali A, you name it. It was unbelievable what Black Ops 2 brought to the table. It was the best Call of Duty all round. Zombies, campaign, everything about this game. This was the 10 out of 10 Call of Duty. There has never been a Call of Duty better than this game. And I don't think we'll ever see it. Even if we got a Black Ops 2 remastered, I think Black Ops 2 remastered would be done wrong somewhere. It wouldn't feel the exact same. I feel like this is a time that you had to live. You had to be around and live this prime time. And I feel like, unfortunately, some of you watching this video probably never experienced this in its prime, because playing this game now in 2024 through reverse compatibility is just not possible, okay? It's hacked as anything. It's terrible. A lot of the time, if you do find a game, there's hardly any players. It's completely destroyed here in 2024. But this game back in its prime is the most unbelievable game and the best Call of Duty we are ever going to see. And I don't think we're going to ever top it. I don't think it's possible to ever top this Call of Duty game. But you guys let me know down below what you think. And you got to let me know what your greatest of all time is and why your Call of Duty is the greatest of all time, why you think that is. Next up, a controversial Call of Duty. Call of Duty Ghosts. This followed on from Black Ops 2, of course. This game was quite interesting because it went on a different, I'd say, spin to Black Ops 2. It had, a very quick time to kill. You couldn't even see your connection in this game. You kind of just had to know based off a field. It didn't have bad connections. It felt like a lot of time the connections were good. I don't know if that's just because the kill times were so fast in that game. But this game also did have one of the biggest camping issues and probably some of the worst maps, if not a lot of the maps, were pretty terrible in this game. It's a very controversial Call of Duty. I don't think this Call of Duty lived up to expectations. It had a pretty difficult feat to follow, which of course it came after Black Ops 2. So it was always going to get, if this Call of Duty wasn't even close or even 50% as close, was always going to have a hard time beating Black Ops 2. So for me, I'm going to throw it in mid because I don't think it was overly terrible. But I don't think it was fantastic either. I don't think this Call of Duty game really did a lot for the series, if anything at all, when it came to the Call of Duty series. In fact, now I'm saying that, I might even throw it in bad, right? I said it wasn't terrible, but the fact that it didn't really bring anything to the table for Call of Duty, I don't think this was iconic in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to throw it in bad. Not trash. It's not absolute trash, but it's definitely going in the bad category. I think this Call of Duty game just didn't live up to expectations. And also some people, I think, would consider this the start of the downfall of Call of Duty. Or maybe even the next Call of Duty we're going to be on to, which is Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. So, of course, we had Call of Duty Ghosts come out. I think Activision saw the release of that and didn't think it was doing well. And I believe at this time as well, we were having an experience where Call of Duty was being labelled as the same game every year. So what happened was Sledgehammer ended up coming out with something completely unique. And it's kind of started the jetpack era, which, of course, we're going to get onto here as we rank the next few Call of Duties. But we started the jetpack era, and it's quite interesting, the jetpack era. Advanced Warfare, for me, was the worst jetpack game out of the three, so I feel like this is one that's going to go in the bad category. I personally didn't enjoy this game too much either. I actually leveled up quite a lot. I even, like, I didn't hate... Well, actually, you know what? We're going to throw this definitely in the trash category. You know why? What we're going to do is... The reason this Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is going in the trash category is simply because this started the whole COD points debacle, which kind of has led to what we have to today. This also started the supply drop issues, which was absolutely woeful. And in that game, it was ridiculous. I prestiged all the way just to get the Obsidian Steed, whereas some people were going in and at level 3 were getting the Obsidian Steed, etc. Advanced Warfare created a lot more problems, and if people don't remember, this was actually the first Call of Duty game to have some fixed skill-based matchmaking. I think this kind of killed Call of Duty for a little while. Like, this really did take Call of Duty backwards. So we had skill-based matchmaking, supply drops with pay-to-win weapons. It was ridiculous. Supply drop opening videos were amazing during that time, but yeah, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, probably the worst jetpack game and one of the worst games in the series, in my opinion. It has some good maps and some decent guns, but that's not really saying a lot for how bad this game was, in my opinion. I don't think it did a justice to Call of Duty. But we'll move on to the next jetpack game, which is Black Ops 3. And this managed to save jetpacks, in my opinion, because initially, when Advanced Warfare came back up with the jetpacks, I think a lot of people already started to kind of turn towards we need to go back to boots on the ground, this just isn't it. But Treyarch did it. Treyarch went with Black Ops 3, and it had jetpacks, and this was the best iteration of it, so much so that it did actually continue into Infinite Warfare, but we'll talk about that in a second. But Black Ops 3, with the wall running, the jetpacking, this was a great game. The content was amazing. Yes, we still had supply drops that you had to pay for and stuff, and you got some pay-to-win weapons, so there was still that kind of takes away from it. But for me, even with that negative, and obviously we got the skill-based matchmaking back to normal, well, besides the one brief day, and you guys are in true OG if you remember this, do you guys remember that one day in Black Ops 3 where they turned back on fixed skill-based matchmaking? Just for one day, they ended up reverting it and saying that they never did that, but it was true, you can find videos for it. There was one single day where they changed skill-based matchmaking in Black Ops 3. It was normal, casual lobbies like you normally get back in the day, like playing Black Ops 2, etc. But what happened was Black Ops 3, for some reason, like, updated, and everyone was facing fixed skill-based matchmaking lobbies for, like, a few hours. It was about 2 to 4 hours. People were getting red ping lobbies and stuff. It was a terrible, terrible experience, and we really thought they just decided to kill Black Ops 3. But luckily they didn't. Luckily they reverted it after seeing the outrage. But Black Ops 3 is massively up there. Using the M8, flying around the map. The maps were great. I think this is a great Call of Duty. I don't think some of you would agree with that because it was a jetpack game, but I think this done jetpacks so well and was the best version of jetpacks we would ever see in a Call of Duty game. Do I want to see jetpacks ever again in Call of Duty? Absolutely not. I don't think it belongs in Call of Duty. I think we are a boots on the ground game. But yeah, great game. Unbelievable. Next up, Infinite Warfare. Now, I played this late into its cycle. I kind of joined on the bandwagon. I kind of was a little bit of a sheep on this one, I'd say. A lot of people dislike this game straight up, of course. The campaign, the everything. Well, the campaign was liked, actually. The campaign was quite solid. I didn't personally play the campaign, but I did watch it and see people play through it, so I kind of understand what the campaign was about. It was quite a good campaign. But the actual multiplayer, people were fed up with jetpacks. They didn't want jetpacks. They didn't want futuristic Call of Duty. They wanted a normal Call of Duty experience. And Infinite Warfare just wasn't what the community wanted. It was one of the most disliked videos on YouTube at the time, the Call of Duty reveal from Infinite Warfare. I still believe it is one of the most, if not, there's probably something that's overtaken it now, but it was absolutely up there. It's definitely in the top 10 most disliked things ever on a video for YouTube. And yeah, this game got a lot of hate. I played this game in about January or February after its release. You know, the game kind of died a little bit. They weren't even announcing DLCs for this game. They were just putting them in the game for whoever was actually playing. The player counts were quite low. But I don't think this game was that bad. And I think a lot of people who'd go back and play it now would say this game really wasn't as bad as people say. I think this game got overhated. And I'm going to throw it in my time of playing it. And I only made first prestige or something. I'm going to throw it in good, okay? It had a lot of good things about it. There was actually this thing where you got, parts or whatever. I can't remember what it was. A thing where you could, use them to buy the stuff to then unlock the weapons and stuff. There was a way to actually get the weapons. We still had supply drops, of course, which were not good, and I didn't enjoy, supply drops just, I don't think, worked. They can work in Call of Duty, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I just don't think they work just because they were paid to win a lot of the time, and yeah, it just made it a gamble as to get anything. But I think Infinite Warfare was a little bit overhated. I think the maps were okay, the weapons played okay. I don't think the game was overall that bad, if I'm completely honest from my experience. But what came with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and what kind of made the sales of this game a little bit better than what they were going to be was the fact that if you pre-ordered or if you bought, I can't remember how I got this. I remember I got Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered along with it, even though I didn't pre-order it. So I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be a pre-order bonus. You guys let me know how that works. I can't remember, but I do remember playing this Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. I'm going to throw this in mid, straight up, okay? I didn't play this a lot. I didn't enjoy it. A lot of people said this wasn't even exactly like the Call of Duty 4 remake. I don't think I experienced the real, actual Call of Duty 4. They also ruined this by actually putting in weapons that weren't around in the time. The camos and stuff were fine. I don't think anyone would have had an issue with that. But when they started adding weapons that didn't belong to the game to make a quick buck, of course, because Infinite Warfare wasn't making the sales it needed to make when it came to supply drops, they just threw the supply drops into Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, and the uproar for that was insane, because a lot of people, even YouTubers who were saying this was never going to happen, got deceived by Call of Duty, by Activision, into believing that, and then what did they do? They ended up putting supply drops and kind of ruining that game. I think this game kind of got a little bit of a negative taste in the end. I don't think it was a bad Call of Duty game, but I don't think it was a great Call of Duty game. It only existed to create more sales for Infinite Warfare, to be completely honest. Next up, an interesting Call of Duty, a controversial one as well, because this was the start of the back to the boots on the ground era. And we had World War II. It went back to what people thought was going to be the Call of Duty everyone wanted to play, which was realistic, war, etc. And I think a lot of people ended up not liking this game. I think the realism part kind of ruined the actual experience of this game. Like, we were going too realistic. But for me, and you guys can go find on my channel somewhere, I used to make montages in this game, and they used to have a mode called War, I believe, or something. It had no kill streaks, but it was like guiding a tank across the map. It was building up barriers, blocking the other team from getting their tank through and blowing up a bomb, etc. and stuff. If you guys remember the famous meme of bombs being planted on our ammo supply or something, that when it used to go really, really loud. I liked World War II, okay? And I'm going to throw this in the good category. It's not great. It was not fantastic. Also had a decent rank play. I actually played rank play in this game. It was okay. It wasn't fantastic, but it was a good start to making rank play what it is today. But Call of Duty World War II was a pretty decent Call of Duty in my opinion. I think it's definitely up there. Not fantastic or great, but I think it was pretty decent. Next up, Black Ops 4. I think a lot of people will remember this Call of Duty more so because this is the last Call of Duty that didn't incorporate fixed skill-based matchmaking. This had skill-based matchmaking, of course, like all Call of Duties I've ever had, but it didn't have fixed skill-based matchmaking. This was loose, this was multiplayer, you just played whatever. You'd play bad players, you played good players. It was as simple as that. This game was pretty good. The high time to kill, and when I say highlight, it took a very long time to win gunfights in that game. The specialists were a little bit obnoxious, but I did like this game. But this game also got a lot of hate at the time. This was also when we started to hear about Call of Duty, abusing its employees, essentially, abusing, like, test workers and stuff, getting people to overwork and stuff. This kind of fell apart, this game, a little bit in the background. But the actual game itself was pretty good, and I'm going to throw it in great, just because I enjoyed this game. It was fun. It was an enjoyable experience. It was a pretty, just a fun experience. That's all that matters, really, Call of Duty, as long as it's fun. I enjoyed it. It got a little bit more stale towards the end, but supply drops, again, were kind of annoying. They had the season pass as well, so you could earn free supply drops and stuff, but it was still a bit, pay to win, especially when they did actually have the weapons in the season pass and then took them out about midway through the game. And you saw things like the Stingray come in that were overpowered and people were going nuts buying supply drops for them, getting the Stingray, and then they nerfed the Stingray, if you remember that. Crazy time. Black Ops 4, a pretty great Call of Duty that did get ruined a little bit during its cycle, but nonetheless, I think it's up there. Next up, MW 2019, and we're ranking only MW 2019 here, because as you can see, Warzone's over here, and we'll talk about that in a second. MW 2019, where do I put this Call of Duty game? Honestly, for me, the only saving grace for this game was Ground War, because the actual multiplayer experience was awful. Like, the realism part came into question again, being able to hear footsteps from miles away. This game was definitely made, and what was it? It's called safe spaces for bad players and stuff. This game was made more for bad players and new players than it was for the existing Call of Duty players and good players, etc. This wasn't a well-balanced Call of Duty, right? This just wasn't done well. It got a little bit fun, like the thing of slide cancelling is also questionable to this day. Some people hate it, some people like it. It's kind of changed how Call of Duty is today with the slide cancelling movement that wasn't intentional, but now seems to be intentional for every Call of Duty game. I'm going to throw this in the bad category, okay? The only saving grace was Ground War, and I did like Ground War. I did enjoy it. I think also the content in this game, actually, you know what, we're going to throw it mid, right? The content in this game was pretty good. That's what's the saving grace. The content in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 was pretty good. We're talking like events, stuff like that, the camos and stuff you could earn. I'm going to throw it in mid for that reason, but the actual multiplayer experience I don't think was that fantastic, especially the core like 6v6 maps and that. They weren't very good. I believe we were released with hardly any maps, and they just were not good. And it was a very, very campy game, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. I'm going to throw it in mid, but it was not great. It wasn't awful, but it has changed Call of Duty pretty much forever with what it incorporated. Next up, Black Ops Cold War. Another interesting one. I felt like a lot of people kind of didn't like this game for some reason, and I can't understand that. I used to play Search and Destroy in this game. It's kind of what I mainly played. I played a little bit multiplayer, dropped a few nukes and stuff as well. And I enjoyed Black Ops Cold War, but I think a lot of people hated it. The only real negative I could say is that Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War did, you know, have a sniping issue. I'd say snipers were kind of overpowered in that game. They had next to no flinch. But other than that, and it was quite sway, actually. The skill-based matchmaking in this game was very fixed. So we're going to throw it in great, not fantastic, just because the skill-based matchmaking in this game was ridiculous. It was off the charts. I don't think there's been a Call of Duty game since that has had skill-based matchmaking as thick and as crazy as what Cold War has. Like, it was insane. The people you were facing were always, like, top tier. At least that's how I felt. Every single game, whether it's Search and Destroy, TDM, you name it. The only times I could play like decently worse players or get a decent experience that wasn't super sway was playing like really early in the morning, like 6 a.m. or something. So we're going to throw it in great for now. Next up, Call of Duty Vanguard, a game that I think a lot of people would like to forget. I'm going to throw this in absolutely trash. This game was just not it. I don't know what to say on it as to why it wasn't it. It was boring. It really was. It just didn't have anything for it. It didn't add anything to Call of Duty. It just felt like another game, and there's just nothing to say that I enjoyed this game. You know, I played it for about a month and a half, and I just got bored. It was the first game that I was just like, nope, not playing it, not touching it. It just didn't have that experience for me. It didn't have that wow factor. I ended up going back to Black Ops Cold War and playing Black Ops Cold War for another year, and I think a lot of people ended up doing that or going and playing something else. I don't know, I can't remember what era or what games might have been out of this time, maybe Fortnite or something. I think Fortnite might have even before that, actually. But I don't think many people enjoyed this game, and with good reason. It just wasn't a great Call of Duty game. It just didn't have anything, you know? It just wasn't interesting at all, so less said about Vanguard, the better, to be honest. MW2. The previous year was MW2, so not Model for Free, MW2. And what do we say about this game? This is an interesting one because I had some decent moments with it. The content in this game was decent as well. But the actual gameplay multiplayer experience, again, it was the same thing again. Infinity Ward putting realism and loud footsteps and the ability to camp, and the maps weren't fantastic. We didn't get many maps at launch. I think there was a lot of bad in this game, more so than good. I'm going to throw it in mid, but I could have easily thrown it in bad as well. Like, it just isn't up there for me. Didn't really change much for Call of Duty. And I just felt like it was, again, another case of another boring Call of Duty that just really didn't do the experience, didn't do Call of Duty the justice it deserved. We've got Black Ops 6 here as well, actually. We're going in never played. I'm not going to put this in here just because we've only played the beta, and a beta experience is not the best way. I don't even know why this is in here, considering we've not actually played it yet. But Modern Warfare 3, in fact, I'm not even going to bother ranking Black Ops Zombies as well, because we kind of ranked Black Ops already, and we talked about Black Ops Zombies. I don't know if that's online, or if that's supposed to be, if there's a Black Ops Zombies online or something, but we'll leave that there. Modern Warfare 3, this year's game. We've already done a review. We did our review discussing the goods and bads of this game, and I'm going to throw it up there, and I did say this to everyone in that video, that I believe this was a top 5 Call of Duty, and to put this in the top 5 means it has to go here. And that's going to be controversial to some people, but the content, the maps, the way the game played, the fun factor, I obviously get around the skill-based matchmaking as well with turning Xbox crossplay off, so I do kind of get a better experience than most would have, I would say. I think most people's issues with the game were cheating, the lag issues towards the end, like that was a negative, and I'm not going to take away from that. There was definitely an issue. We made many videos discussing the lag when it came to Modern Warfare 3 towards the end, especially on Xbox, because they absolutely ruined it on Xbox for about a good month or two. But the content, multiplayer maps, weapons, aftermarket parts, everything about this game was fun. You wanted to play, like, I haven't had a Call of Duty game in years where I've wanted to hop on every single day, every single week, and get the new weapon, get the new camo, play the new event. We had, like, even gimmicky things like, I can't remember what it's called, like Get High, or whatever it's called, the thing where you go, you know, you climb up like an obstacle course. Lovely gimmicky things, great Call of Duty, really well done, and I think a lot of people are going to appreciate this more as time goes on, especially as I don't think this is going to be I think this Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 will actually go down as a better COD than Black Ops 6. That's just a prediction. That's not guaranteed, but I do think that will happen based off of what I saw with the Black Ops 6 beta. Call of Duty Mobile, okay, an interesting one to rank in anyway, but we're going to rank it anyway. I played it briefly. It was quite fun. The problem is playing on a mobile device, it doesn't feel natural. It feels weird. I played it with a controller as well. It was pretty good. Nothing bad to say about it. It was quite a good ported version of a Call of Duty onto a mobile and a little small screen. And, I think a lot of people do actually enjoy this, those who do play Call of Duty Mobile quite a bit. But for me, it's quite a good experience. I just wouldn't play Call of Duty on a mobile for more than maybe an hour, or at best. It's just one of those. It just feels unnatural. It doesn't seem to feel right to play Call of Duty on a mobile. But if you're one of those people who wants to play Call of Duty and just doesn't own a console or a PC, Call of Duty Mobile is not a terrible experience in any way, shape, or form. Warzone Mobile. Let's talk about this one. This seems to have gone off the face of the planet. I don't even know if anyone plays this. This got so much publicity. A lot of people ended up downloading this, and a lot of people ended up finding out they had mobile devices that just simply weren't good enough to play this game. I don't know if that's the case now. I imagine it's been updated to try and enable a lot of more mobile devices to be able to play the game. I luckily have a decent Samsung that was able to play this on very high settings and stuff. It was quite enjoyable. Again, it's a mobile experience. I don't personally want to play Call of Duty on a mobile, so I'm going to throw it on mid. It wasn't crazy good. It was more so in the bad category if you're one of those who had a phone that just wasn't good enough for this, and I can totally understand that if you throw this in your bad or even trash category, to be honest. Call of Duty Warzone, the original Call of Duty Warzone. Let's just throw it up there, right? It was fantastic, okay? This was the COVID days. We were all indoors. I actually still had a job during this time, so I had to actually work, but I still managed to come home, experience playing with the boys, playing and doing challenges. This was an unbelievable... I think a lot of things coincidentally went well for this to go well. But using the Graw and the, I can't even think of the other ones, the Kilo and stuff and cross map and just the moments that happen. It doesn't feel like you get these anymore, like moments in Warzone, but the moments that were happening in Warzone were so amazing. It's like for me when I played Black Ops 1 for the first time, that you could do some crazy things. You could do some unbelievable, snipe someone out of a helicopter. The plays that you can make this, I don't think we're ever going to get a Battle Royale experience that was as good as this when it came to a Call of Duty Battle Royale experience. Yes, we've got Warzone 2.0 and stuff, and obviously the modern Warzone that we have now. I don't think they're going to hold a candle to the original Warzone. Even when we get Verdansk back, like Verdansk, Piece of Resistance, what a great map. Even with all the high buildings that people could camp in, it seemed to work. It was very weird. Like I think MW 2019 seemed to have been more built for Warzone to work than it was actually MW 2019 to have a good multiplayer experience. But unbelievable, great experience. If you didn't enjoy it, I don't know what to say. Like I felt like everyone enjoyed this. You could have been bad, good, terrible, great, didn't matter. You could enjoy Warzone for what it was. It was unbelievable. But Warzone 2.0, I'm going to kind of throw this as Warzone from last year and this year. I've played very little. I mean little. We're talking less than 10 games for both years. This just isn't it for me. I don't know what it is. The Warzone experience just isn't the same anymore. I think some people would disagree with this as well. I'm going to throw it in trash for now. I got bored of Battle Royale, okay? After this was such a great high, and then when they changed it to what got changed to, it just lost all of its magic. I don't think Warzone is what it is nowadays. Yes, we've got Rebirth and stuff, and I'm not one of those people who's a Rebirth demon and goes side-cancelling around the map and going crazy. I think a lot of people enjoy that, and I think those who are people who play Rebirth and stuff will rank this very highly, because you can obviously say that, this is Rebirth, etc. I can get that, but for me, I'm done with Battle Royale and Call of Duty. I know Call of Duty is not done with Battle Royale, but I personally am done with Battle Royale and Call of Duty. It just isn't for me. I like the multiplayer experience more than anything. And then finally, we're going to go with Blackout. This was actually the first Battle Royale experience, and I'm going to throw it up there as well. Fantastic. I loved playing Blackout. Blackout was absolutely great. Same as the original Warzone. You could have moments. You could do great things, whether you're a bad player, good player, great player, terrible player. Didn't matter. I even used to get matchmaked on like American servers and actually win those games. Like I think this was great. I'd say it was more. I think people hated it just because the time to kill was very long in Blackout. Like it was a lot longer than what you'd expect now in like Warzone. But nonetheless, I do think this was a great Battle Royale entry. It had a lot of cool things like events and stuff, and little gimmicky things with like zombies and stuff, and just putting all the old Call of Duty maps together, like Nuketown and a bit of firing range, not firing range, sorry. So you had Nuketown, you had Raid, I think. Do you have Raid? I think there was a bit of Raid in it. There was loads of different areas put together. It was a great and interesting experience and a great start to Battle Royale for Call of Duty, and of course that just ended up leading to Warzone that we have nowadays. But that is it. That is my Call of Duty ranking list, my tier list from greatest to worst. Looking on it, do I regret kind of how I've done this? I'm going to say no. I feel like this is as accurate as I'm going to put it. I'd even throw some of these, like more so these mid ones might even go in the bad category more than anything. I think I've been a bit generous to the mid ones. But the ones that I've got in good or great or fantastic, I think are okay. And obviously greatest of all time is definitely 100% correct, okay? And if anyone disagrees, you probably like Modern Warfare 2. But anyway, yeah, that is it. That is today's video. You guys let me know in the comments down below, what do you think is the greatest Call of Duty of all time? And also tell me your worst Call of Duty and give me reasons why you think that down below. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe notifications on. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Goodbye.